All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really profound psychological fable. We're going to follow a story about finding inner peace, in a world that literally never seems to stop spinning. We'll look at the actual mechanics of how our minds work and uncover an incredibly simple, kind of surprising secret to mental clarity. Let's get right into it. But hey, before we get into the story itself, I want you to ask yourself, honestly, do you ever just feel restless? Do you ever wake up already tired, totally overwhelmed by this heavy mix of regrets about the past and creeping anxieties about the future? If your mind sometimes feels like an overcrowded highway with absolutely no exits, well, you're definitely not alone. Actually, that's exactly the state of mind our protagonist was suffering from when this whole story began.
So Section 1, The Storm of the Mind.
We're looking at the psychological state of Marco. He's a young guy, just 24 years old, but despite his youth, his mind is just a runaway train. It's constantly running, constantly full of overlapping, interrupting thoughts. It's kind of like having 50 browser tabs open in your brain all at once, right? And it leaves him completely uneasy and just perpetually exhausted. Okay, let's dive into this, because Marco's experience is incredibly relatable. He's constantly restless, always uneasy. He can't sleep well. He carries this deep sadness about his past, and he worries heavily about the future. I mean, it got so bad that he literally forgot how to smile. And when you think about it, this is a highly accurate description of severe anxiety and rumination. He's totally trapped between what's already happened and what hasn't even happened yet. His condition can be summed up in one perfect phrase. His mind was like a storm. I want you to really think about that imagery for a second. A storm is chaotic, it's loud, it's dark. And when you're in the middle of it, you feel completely powerless to stop it, don't you? The sheer volume of Marco's past regrets and future anxieties had whipped up this absolutely inescapable mental tempest. Moving on to Section 2, The Journey for Peace.
Because Marco just couldn't take the storm anymore, he set out to find a cure. He'd heard about this wise old man living in a quiet village way out in the hills. And this brilliantly illustrates something key here, because this healer wasn't just some mystic on a mountain. In his past life, he was a famous psychologist in the city. That really grounds this fable in practical mental health, We're dealing with a retired professional who understands the actual nuts and bolts of how the human mind works.
So, Marco takes this grueling journey spanning many days. He finally reaches a small house covered in greenery, and he finds the old man sitting quietly. Marco walks up, just totally exhausted, and pleads, "Grandfather, my mind is very restless. I cannot stop thinking. I want peace in my heart. Can you help me?" Wow, you can just hear the pure desperation there, right? He traveled all this way just to find an off switch for his brain.
Which brings us to Section 3, The Water Glass Challenge.
The old man opens his eyes, smiles calmly, and agrees to help. But he doesn't offer a pill or, years of talk therapy. Instead, he takes Marco into his yard and offers a highly unconventional prescription. He tells him to fill a glass with water completely to the brim, then walk to the edge of the village and come back. And here's the catch. Do not spill even one single drop. Even a tiny shake would cause a spill. It requires absolute, unwavering perfection.
All right, Section 4, Blind to the Distractions.
Marco accepts the challenge. He holds the glass carefully and begins to walk. But remember, he isn't walking through a quiet, empty hallway. The environment is a chaotic, totally unpredictable mess. The road is narrow, it's busy, there are crowds of people walking and running past, shopkeepers are loudly calling out to customers, village dogs are barking continuously. It perfectly mirrors the loud storm that's usually inside Marco's head. But right now, as he takes this walk step by step, there's absolute silence inside his mind. Marco's eyes stayed perfectly locked only on the glass. He didn't look around at all. He just walked slowly, step by step. The villagers watched him with immense surprise, but actually nobody disturbed him. They kind of knew he was learning something really important. He ignored the chaos entirely until he finally returned to the old man, totally successful.
Let's move to Section 5, The Diagnosis and Cure, and see how this builds.
Marco returns proudly, announcing he didn't spill a single drop. The old man nods, smiles, and asks a very simple question. Did you hear the dogs barking? Let's just pause and unpack this for a second. Ask yourself what's happening here. The old man isn't making small talk. This retired psychologist is actively testing Marco's reality. Marco looks surprised and replies, No, I didn't see or hear anything. I was only focusing on the glass. It's wild. The distractions had completely vanished from Marco's reality. The barking dogs, the shouting shopkeepers, they effectively just didn't exist to him. His mental storm was entirely eliminated because his mental bandwidth was literally 100% occupied by that glass of water.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the profound shift that just occurred. Before this challenge, Marco was consumed by past sadness and future fears, right? He was living in a constant state of anxiety and restlessness. But during the challenge, he was focused purely on the present moment, on the water glass. And the result? Absolute peace. The old man gently tells him that this right here is the secret he's been searching for.
The old man explains it so perfectly. He says, when your mind stays in the present moment, then there is no space for fear, no confusion, and no extra thoughts. That is incredibly powerful. He's basically saying, you weren't sad about the past, Marco. You weren't afraid of the future. You were only thinking about the water. And because of that singular focus, his mind became completely quiet.
So what are the actual mechanics of mindfulness at play here? Well, number one, your mind simply cannot hold total present focus and past or future anxieties at the exact same time. There's just no room. Number two, focusing on a single immediate task quiets the mind completely. And number three, and this is absolutely crucial, peace is not an external destination. Marco literally traveled for days to find a magical cure, but he finally realized that peace is in an internal state of presence. He now knew exactly how to calm his own mind.
The story ends with the sun setting as Marco starts walking home. But he's no longer a restless young man. He has fundamentally changed. And this illustrates the ultimate lesson for all of us. Peace is already inside us when we live in the present moment. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a lingering thought. What is your water glass today? How can you apply this absolute unwavering focus to force your mind out of the storm and into the quiet, peaceful reality of right now? Thanks so much for exploring this with me, and stay focused out there.